invite all of you to watch this video in relation to this important framework of these ODS, SDG. We invite to this honored panel the Minister of the General Secretary of the Presidency, Márcio Macedo. The First Lady of Brazil, Janja Lula da Silva. The Minister of Racial Equality, Aniele Franco. The Minister of the Indigenous Peoples, Sonia Guajajara. The Minister of the Human Rights and Citizenship, Maca Evaristo. The Minister of Management, the Minister of Ministry of Cities, Jarder Barbalho Filho. Family Farming, Fernanda Machiavelli, and this in this theater on this stage. She also represents the Minister of the Agrarian Development and Family Farming, the General Director of the Itaipu Binacional, Enio Veri. The Special Advisor of the Presidency of South Africa, Nokukanya Yeli. In this moment, I would like to take the opportunity to greet all the authorities who honors us here today. And I would like to invite to open the ceremony the Brazilian Director of Itaipu Binacional, Enio Veri. Okay. Not the first one, because this is easy. First of all, I would like to talk about the Minister of the General Secretariat of the Presidency, Márcio Macedo, and the First Lady of Brazil, Janja Lula da Silva. And I greet you and congratulate you for this beautiful work, very important to Brazil and to the world. And the President Lula here in the G20 social, and the Minister of Racial Equality, Aniele Franco, and the Minister of the Indigenous Peoples, Sonia Guajajara, the Minister of Human Rights and Citizenship, Macaé Evaristo, and the Deputy Minister of the Environment, Capé Bianco, and the Minister of the Cities, Jade Barbalho Filho, the Executive Secretary of the Agrarian Development, and the Special Advisor of South Africa, Nokakiania Ayale. And greet all the people who are here and tell you that Itaipu is very honored to take part in such a process. Our company has this history and background since 2003 with the first mandate of President Lula. It being engaged in this commitment to protect the environment, and throughout the first mandate and Dilma's mandate before the coup, Itaipu has always been present, not only in the fight for the environment, but racial equality and equity. It is also important to discuss the new points of SDGs, and this 18 shows the importance of Brazil in the initiatives that reflect on the rest of the world. Because after all, Janja, when you started off this debate in 2018, your role in this process looked like something so simple. And after when I took over Itaipu and stopped traveling, we can see that it's not simple. The countries that make part of Latin America haven't been reflecting upon the situation like we do, which is already something, but those countries are far behind. So such a point like this that is included in the agenda, it stops being something like marketing, and becomes in the building of a construction of culture, equality, justice, and opportunities, which is crucial. And I believe this is the brand of this presidency. I was very engaged and committed in relation to it. And we have in this new mandate of the president intense work in relation to the indigenous peoples. I was talking to the Minister Sonia Guajajara. Now in the 21st, we are going to launch a document with 45 million to fill a dam in the Mato Grosso do Sul, a village in Mato Grosso do Sul, which doesn't have access to our water. And in this work and the land acquisition in Paraná, there's such an old conflict that started the construction of Itaipu, together with UNAI, with the Ministry of the Indigenous Peoples, regarding the Maroon communities. We've been working so hard, not only passing on resources, but also politicizing and debate in our country. And after all, beyond this, to prove this booklet, which has been built in common agreement with Márcio Macedo and his team, who have been essential. And this booklet that we are handing in today, we hope, as it says, a booklet to be given in it, to be leafleted, and to build a new consciousness. And that these 18 is SDG cannot be just a debate of advertising, but a political construction for a fairer country and a more equalitarian world. Congratulations, everyone. I feel so honored to be here and Itaipu too with you. Thank you very much. At this moment, I would like to invite the Minister of Innovation and Public Services, Terek, to be here with us. Now the floor, the Special Advisor of the Presidency of South Africa, Nokukanya Yeli.
Madam First Lady,
Senhora Primeira-Dama,
ministros, pessoas presentes, boa tarde. I'm sorry.
South Africa has 12
África do Sul tem 12 idiomas oficiais reconhecidos na nossa Constituição. Porém, eu temo que o português não seja um deles. É um privilégio único estar aqui no Brasil falando da igualdade racial e étnica. A história de vocês e a nossa permitiu aos nossos povos
through lived experience, the nature of ethnic racial inequality. Brazil's decision to have an SDG on ethnic racial equality is a commendable one. It puts a spotlight on an issue that remains contemporary challenge which cuts across all areas of our society. It ignites a debate. Is racism still a problem? Is it really a worldwide problem that requires global concerted attention? The answer from South Africa's perspective is a resounding, unequivocal yes. The evidence of this abounds. Significantly, the United Nations itself, as an institution, acknowledged as much. After the murder of George Floyd in the United States, the United Nations Secretariat raised the matter of racism with their management. The UN Secretariat then conducted a detailed survey among their own staff, a survey to be able to gauge how extensive the problem was. This was limited to staff secretariat, and you will not be surprised to hear the result. It confirmed that racial discrimination was present in all aspects of UN life, recruitment, promotions, UN tribunal adjudication of disputes. I will spare you some of the glaring problems with the format of the survey itself, like the fact that it asked respondents if they identified as white, black, brown, or yellow. Personally, I can attest that my mother, if she had been asked that question, being a French-Hungarian of origins, would have said she is pink or gray, depending on the sunlight. Put that aside, a strategic action plan to fight racism in the workplace was born, and a special advisor to UN Secretary General Guterres was appointed to steer its implementation. As it so happens, she is South African. An anti-racism team was set up to support her in her work, and last year this team was made a permanent feature in the United Nations. It is an anti-racism office, and for example, one of its first jobs is to gather information on the race and ethnic origin of UN staff. The UN has no database on this. It does not know how many of its own staff are vulnerable to racial discrimination. I speak about this office because it is perfect proof that the fight against ethnic racial inequality is a global one. If the largest multinational, multilateral organization with a global footprint is only now working towards fighting racism in its ranks, how has it affected its work to serve the people that interact with it across the world? When the UN accepts that it has to change, that it has work to do to make sure there is no racism amongst its own staff, surely we must accept that its member states, and more importantly, the people from its member states who are employed by the UN, all have various degrees of ethnic racial inequality to address. This is an inequality that is ingrained in our societies. It's institutionalized, it's rendered so intrinsic to our daily lives that it becomes the accepted norm. It shows itself in how history is taught. It shows itself in the workplace and how we engage with our colleagues. It shows itself in access to capital for individuals with no assets. These are people historically with no history of family wealth, no surety, persons subject to deliberate laws preventing them from obtaining these assets. In South Africa, ownership of your own home for a person of color was not legally allowed until 35 years ago. 35 years. It takes generations to have debt-free assets one can leverage to obtain funds. A system called Bantu education made sure blacks were not taught anything beyond the basics: housekeeping, cooking, farm work, at best, social work and nursing. It takes generations to develop a knowledge base that empowers people to access certain jobs: actuarial sciences, engineering, medicine. These fields are so hard to get into if your mother and father cannot help you with mathematics homework because they were never taught maths or biology. Ethnic racial inequality cannot be tackled without talking about it. We need to speak about it. We need to call it out whenever and wherever we see it. We won't stop racism if we hesitate to raise it when it happens. All of humanity must be equally offended and respond in equal measure whenever there is any degree of racism in any part of the world, whether it is Africa, America, South America, Eastern Europe, or the Middle East. When an advertisement announces that curly hair can be tamed thanks to their product so that you can be beautiful with straight hair, that is racism. My afro does not need to be straight for me to be beautiful. When a bank refuses a loan to buy a house because, like my grandfather, you belong and descend to a community of Roma, of nomads, complain. The note in their loan policy that such persons are unreliable and not dependable to keep to long-term financial commitments is ethnic discrimination. When a system of laws treats one category of citizens as having less rights based on their ethnic origin or race and has them live separately to others, call it apartheid. I am proud to come from a country where these examples by law are illegal. If you were to issue that advertisement in South Africa, you would get a fine. There would be a civil claim. You would be ordered to change your loan policy. I am proud to come from a country where racial slurs are hate speech and prohibited. If you post on Facebook that crowds of blacks having a beach festival make that beach dirty, if a school says that a red dot on your forehead or dreadlocks are prohibited, they're tar and feathering to necklacing and genocides. Systemic global racism persists in the ongoing occupations of the people in Palestine, in the deliberate underdevelopment of African economies. It is manifested through a predictable and sustainable financing and capacity, through a lack of predictable and sustainable financing and capacity building for climate action, extreme vulnerability to pandemics and other global public health emergencies, and crippling debt, which forces many countries to forego their developmental programs to service exorbitant debts. Institutionalized racism needs to be tackled in all its manifestations, including the reform of the institutions of global governance so that they do not remain as they were intended to be, institutions to protect the powers and privileges of former empires, but become instruments for the common good. I thank Brazil, therefore, for having SDG 18. It will help us achieve these goals. Thank you.
Well, I'm tired, I should say. This social G20 is really taking up all of our energies, but we are here strong because it's so beautiful, right? This G20 social summit with everyone speaking to each other, hugging. Yesterday, we had a very special moment at the end of the day at the Mauá Square with the festival Global Alliance Against Poverty and Hunger. Who was there at the festival? It's a global alliance against hunger and poverty. Let's see if you can understand the message, okay? Because that's what it is. Well, I'd like to greet my friends Minister Jader Macaé, my friend Daniele, the friend of my heart. You wasn't here yesterday. Well, you lost something. It was very beautiful. Minister Marcio, congratulations. The social G20 is a great success. I think that everything that President Lula thought of for the G20, he is being able to see come true. We are delivering. Minister Sonia, and you, Executive Secretary, is that what you are? And you? Of the environment? Right, but he's also executive secretary, right? I have everything written down here, but I want to recall by heart. Fernanda, Enio, my dear friend from Itaipu. I think I refer to everyone. I'd like to say something that I was whispering about with Minister Marcio. When we discussed the matter of presenting SDG 18 here at the Social G20, we had talked about having this event somewhere symbolic for Rio de Janeiro and for the history of Brazil, which is the Cay of Valons. We didn't do it, but we should have an event over there because it's very symbolic for Brazil. Maybe we should have another event somewhere where Minister Sonia thinks is good. Because this SDG 18 is so important. I'm not even going to speak about the importance of the other SDGs because everyone has been working with that for a long time now. Now, my professional history was carrying the 2030 agenda for many years so that we were able to reach the end of 2030 with at least some targets having been achieved. We know that that's very difficult. In Brazil, in fact, we have had a setback. We've been walking backwards, unfortunately. And now, since the start of President Lula's period in office, we have worked, right, Minister Marcio, by recreating the Commission of SDGs, which has worked very strongly so that we can reach the end of 2026, having rebuilt this path that led us to walk backwards. And that happened because we know that some policies are fundamental to achieve the SDGs of the 2030 agenda. We know that certain public policies were interrupted and that we walked backwards. Civil society has been addressing that with a lot of effort. Despite the setbacks, civil society was able to hang on to the 2030 agenda. So I'd like to congratulate civil society here because of that, because of their work, the work that they did in the last years, and that today the federal government, the Brazilian government, is spearheading once again side by side with civil society so that we can achieve the 2030 agenda. But I want to speak of a special moment. When we speak about SDG 18, I think kind of that it shouldn't be me speaking about it, but I'm not really going to go into the details of SDG 18, but I'm going to speak about a moment that moved every one of us very much. Minister Aniele was there when President Lula announced at the UN summit the voluntary creation by Brazil of SDG 18 for ethnic and racial equality. We felt so proud of seeing him there once again in the presidency of Brazil, because that's a very symbolic place. Those of you who were there at the UN know of the weight of it. Despite the difficulties that we have faced with the fact that the UN today is playing a decision-making role, we have spoken about the global governance, but we know how symbolic that plenary is. When the president here also, I speak about others, but when the president once again launched SDG 18, a voluntary SDG for racial and ethnic equality, well, what can I say? It's a turning point for the world. And Brazil is always on top of things. With President Lula, we are able to envisage things that we might not have been able to do without him as president. So that said, I am very happy. We are working hard so that the 2030 agenda is obeyed. The Global Alliance Against Poverty and Hunger is also here to contribute to the 2030 agenda. So I think that the time has come for us to walk together seeking effectively for us to have a planet, a society that has more justice and less inequality, a more sustainable planet, so that we are able to envisage a better future for all of us. Thank you once again. Good afternoon, everyone.
We invited now Brazilian Minister Márcio Macedo. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, you all. Listen, I would like to tell you about the importance of all of this that we are making nowadays in this moment. This launching the 80th SDG. There's a many symbols of all this. It's one of I used to say that our country, our neighbor country, that has an experience, a significant experience in this construction of SDG. I would like to starting to greeting our company and our friend Janja Lula da Silva. She is the most the hope for about of this. It is always helping us. I'm talking about this, Janja, because I'm eyewitnessing about what we are doing, your fight, recovering this agenda again that was destroyed in the former presidents. And we are achieving return. Brazil is taking important steps, and we have a challenge, a huge challenge, and we're gonna tell. I will tell later. That makes available, that makes work this agenda, this in all the states, in the cities, in towns. So every time that we discuss issues like this, about in G12, Brazil is the center of this debate in worldwide. It's important to tell about the contact at the 18 SDG, but so it's a pleasure to starting to talk about the justice, your role in fairness with the Brazilian government. Thank you so much. I would like to thank you so much. I would like to, before to greeting our friends, I would like to greet all of you who are part of the commission of SDG that are present here. You are responsible for all of this who's happening to. So it's my pleasure to greet you. So I would like to greet for our companion Nieli Franco, Minister, and Minister Sonia Guajajara, Minister of Indigenous People, who is the part responsible for this content that we are discussing here. I would like to greeting our my dear friend, my dear State Minister of Human Rights, Macaé Evaristo. For personal reasons, there's an ODS important. I would like to greet my companion and friend Jorge Barbario, Esther Duetti, Minister. She's here present. And I would say great to João Paulo, Minister of Environment. And I would like to greet our friend Enio Verne.
My dear friend, congratulations on your work. I would like to greet the special advisor to the presidency of South Africa. I'll try to read her name. I'll try to say it in a Portuguese way, Geles. My greetings to you. Please welcome. It is such an honor to be here with you. And I would like to welcome all the partners, my dear friend Tassiana Mendes, the president of Banco do Brasil, and partner and the institutions responsible for the bringing about of the G20, the team and the IPEA and IBGE. Very important in this building of the SDG, and Carlos, the president of Caixa here. I couldn't make it for the event. I'm sorry, Carolina. I'm very sorry. Please, I'll try to be short. When the plenary sessions finished today, the central ones, we focused on the social G20, and the debate was focused on the 3 topics defined by President Lula. They were very significant, very satisfactory debate. I just passed by there in relation to the 4 speakers, and then after that we had 4 groups, and I decided to take a stroll in the G20, the social G20. I decided to visit all the stalls and all the plenary sessions and take a stroll at the boulevard. And then, look, here I am. I haven't had lunch yet, but I would like to tell you how touched I am in relation to what I saw and I heard. I saw more than 150 stalls, and I tried to go to all the scenarios related to different activities. The World Forum of Favelas in Janja. I could hear the different accents, those different narratives, and the representatives of the maroon communities and family farming, solidarity economy, and this mixed people here in Brazil. Folks, it is so big what we've been building here. People thanking the President Lula, and they've told me, come and see what I've been doing. Black women and maroon communities, 30 ethnicities, Sonia Guajajara in those stalls, craftsmanship, food, organic food, literature, extraordinary Brazil that needed to be united. And I think this is the social G20, the idea that President Lula had and was capable of concretizing. We have been able to concretize it. This is only happening because it has been done with different hands, not our hands, but also hands from the people, of the people. That's why I couldn't go there in the meeting. And then something happened. I will try to finish it here. I was leaving the World Favelas Forum, and I said I need to go to thank the sponsors at the meeting. And then a lady came to me and she said, you said that those very well-dressed people there, come on, stay here with us. And then I stayed there. I would like to say that this is very significant here in the G20. I hope that, our president, besides being blessed by God, such political competence he has, so many pluralities. God has put their hand on him, has blessed, and then we are passing it over to South Africa, who has been committed to keep the G20 and the social G20. And I would like to say that here, the General Secretariat of the Presidency, we have committed to organize, together with the participation of society, we have recreated the synods, and we have rebuilding this work that has been carried out by synods, and the First Lady's team, Itaipu, IBGE, and all the ministries which are involved in it. We have presented this report at the United Nations and has been celebrated all over the world, and Brazil has been congratulated, standing ovation. And now we are here moving on with what President had done in relation to the SDG 18, which deals with ethnic racial issues, and also with repairing things. Yes, that's it. It's to repair and try to produce public policies which can go ahead. And Sonia, one of the leaders of this content, and we are together here on this articulatory work and the process of real introduction of this SDG in the administrative and political life of President Lula. Because by setting the example, we can demand things from the mayors, the state governors, and include the civil society, so that the SDGs go in the budgets of the states, of the municipalities, that the SDG 18 may lead this, which is a Brazilian invention, and we can sensitize the world so they can adhere to the SDG 18, ethnic racial SDG. We have a very large calendar with lots of work, so we can make this thing real in the administrative life and also people's life. Kisses to you and good luck on this work. I invite to the stage the Secretary of Agrarian Ministry Development, Fernanda Machiavelli.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to greeting all of the Minister Nieli Macaeli, Minister Jader Barbaro Filho, our companion, our friend from South Africa, Minister Sônia Guajajara, Secretary João Paulo Calpabiano, and all of you here presenting, attending. I would like to say that we are representing Paulo Teixeira, Minister, who's sending hug, and he's using this Minister, Agriculture Minister, to promote actions to achieve means to cut racism and all of the discriminations against indigenous populations and black people. Daniela Minister is leader with Sônia Guajajara to achieve and implement a huge policy about Quilombolas territories. This policy is working again in this year, 2023, in a record of decrease, records of the titles in the whole history of Brazil. And in this way, we can we have a beginning of a process to repair of inequality, social inequality, cultural inequality of the loss of territory, environmental impacts, Quilombolas territories and indigenous territories, and other violations that indigenous have seen nowadays, and we celebrate. We celebrate this moment, the launch of 18th SDG, and more than innovation, that is a group of aims, group of actions and policies that have been implemented in our country nowadays due to the leadership of Lula president and Minister Aniele, who are coordinating us that is able for us to implement racial equality. It's impossible to have development, social development without equalities. We don't have social equality if we cannot promote the equality of women and men. It's important inequality, sovereignty of equality, and the access of opportunities. And this is the excellent example that Brazil is spread worldwide. And we wait that other countries can adapt the same 18 SDG. Pass floor, Esther Dweck. Thank you so much. First of all, I want to greet everyone who is here attending. It's a matter of proud for me. It's not a lunch. It's a lunch that we are representing the world. This SDG 18. President Lula, Janja presented these SDG, and I would like to greet first our friends, our companions, the ministers, women ministers who consider this with a huge importance. Aniele is my friend, and all of this discussion about racial equality. Sonia Guajajara, the Minister of Indigenous People, with policies of right peoples. All of the three together has a great work to guarantee, to ensure that some things that are essential for us, to value the diversity of the identity of Brazilian people, reducing the inequality in Brazil. We have to think in this to get value to diversity, but not instead of the inequality, something that is presented in Brazil nowadays. Márcio Macedo, I want to greet you, who organized the G12 Social Summit, this important moment in history of Brazil. We are happy to have this representative of South Africa because we have a lot of relationship, the same mindset to think policies like South Africa, how we can expect a better country. And they will maintain the same pattern of G12 social, not to listen popular voices. And we are discussing about the future, the state of the future, the leadership of the future that has to be open to listen, to construct things about social policies and execute social policies. And this is the landmark of Brazil. This is very important for international global scene. And I'm going to greet Marina Minister. She's returning to Brazil. She's returning to Brazil. She's flying to Brazil again. And this is very important. We work together with Tassiana and Carlos Vieira. He has another, he's not meeting other. And we work together. We work together delivering projects to contribute for G12 social and to contribute all this G12 and the importance of public companies here in Brazil. And I would like to say to you all that you already know, since the transition, all of these themes are cutting themes. And had this minute, if other ministers are not together working these themes, we alone, we don't have capacity to put the actions.
So they have this character. I would like to thank you. I would like to tell you something that we have been together since last year when we launched this decree of black people here and leadership and this policy. Why is this so essential? And we have done this is also for indigenous people in the public exams of FUNAI. Why is this important? Because the fact that changing public policy, as I said, we need to, within the state, talking about civil servants, they be contemplated as well. So I'd like to say that we are very proud of it and the managing minister, and I greet you. And we are going to transform this SDG, and we are trying to meet this need as soon as possible. Thank you very much. I invite to the floor the Minister of the Cities, Jader Barbalho Filho. Good afternoon, everyone. I greet the Minister of Human Rights, Macaema Evaristo, Sônia Guajajara, my dear Aniele Franco, representing Minister Paulo Teixeira Fernanda, is representing the Minister, Esther Dweck, my dear Hélio Vere, and the Special Advisory to the Presidency of South Africa, Yeli, João Paulo Capobianco. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to everyone here. I'm such an honor and at the same time great responsibility to take part in this meeting. Why? Especially in this session where Brazil puts forward a new SDG 18 dedicated to promote the equality of ethnic and racial, and this arises from the idea that the fight against racism is essential in the construction of fairer societies. Since its discovery, Brazil has been framed by injustice, by massacres, its people being enslaved, which persisted in the history of our country for centuries. And the current status, and we're talking about structural racism that has its unfolded in life. It's incalculable in Cameroon communities and leaves its marks in our society. According to a certain research, 60% of the families led by women are very poor, and this is just a showcase which shows the impact of inequalities in relation to race and gender. SDG 18 comes up in the context of international protagonism, because we believe that the fight against racism is a collective responsibility, an essential aspect in the sustainable development of Brazil. So we propose that SDG 18 is also complementary in the scope of the 2030, which dialogues with the other SDGs, which can foster an agenda that encompasses the eradication of poverty and the ensuring of human rights and fairer justice, social justice. The building of this SDG, the design of this SDG has been done together with civil society. People in the outskirts have been in the forefront. And also, because of this, our objective is that this can be an essential tool in the struggle against racism, with a specific index that allow advancement and the incrementation of ethnic and racial equality. I would like to highlight some of the actions that President Lula has been implementing, which reflect the importance of public policies so this ethnic and racial inequality may finish. The Ministry of Cities, and I speak on behalf of it, represents an effort towards it, acting in the more vulnerable territories. The Secretary implements the insurance of these outskirts people, organization of favelas or slums, which act more directly in the infrastructure of these communities in relation to sanitation, paving, and access to public services. The program aims most of all, to contemplate black women, leaders in this territory, who are essential in the developing of communities. This program also aims to create and value measurements in relation to climate change, nature-based solutions, green roofs, among others. Another thing to be highlighted is the urban reform, which ensures land possession and, whenever possible, prioritizes the titularization on behalf of the women. In a country where 60% of the households are led by black women, this action is a major step in the promotion of social justice and also reduction of inequalities. Brazilian experience with Minha Casa Minha Vida also exemplifies our commitment in relation to this aim. And with the coming back of this program, reinforcing the government's preoccupation in providing housing to these populations. We also prioritize families led by women, certifying that agreements be legalized and prioritized on behalf of them. Such an important measurement to ensure the protagonism of these women in vulnerable situations. And the project Black Women for Climate, which also is based on international support to capacitate, to empower black women in the communities. Throughout these 6 months, these women have been taking part in a mentorship, acting in collaboration so they can act politically in their communities. Ladies and gentlemen, racism and inequality, and racial inequality cannot any way be dissociated from the global agenda. It is of utmost importance to reinforce collective engagement to ensure the building of more equitable world. Brazil believes that SDG 18 represents a historic advancement in relation to the 2030 agenda, and it is crystal clear that we are more than prepared to fight racism in its diverse manifestation, shapes and dimensions, and take a step forward, a major step forward to finish off these plagues. This is our objective, and will be a framework in the building of a fairer society in Brazil. We invite our international partners so we can build together a future where everyone and everybody will have the right to equality. Thank you very much.
This moment right now, we invited to Minister invited Sônia Guajajara. Sônia Guajajara. Hello, good afternoon, you all. I would like to greeting everyone who's attending this table. And I would like to spend well my time, and everybody was well commended here. And I would like to greet everyone who is attending here this plenaria, and mainly this moment, especially this moment that has the identity of this interaction of this civil society with the government. We returned again for 2 years ago. All these spaces of participation was cut down. It was impossible to be in this moment like here today. And now and again we return with this debate, civil society, to share our proposals in thinking about SDG. And when we talk about to create President Lula, he creates SDG 8. It's not only share a proposal, a global proposal. It's about that really works, works this. So I really like to remember what it was the last work to nowadays, and I started to tell that I'm very proud to be here, to be a minister, to be an indigenous minister, a state minister that has the indigenous proposal to be the center of the public debates, the politics debates. And last year, we had Amazonia President Summit, where we have Amazonics dialogues, debates, and the moments of interactions from civil society, from communities, Quilombola communities, indigenous, the local ones, before the summit presidents to discuss and then presented our proposals. So last year, it was a year to return to this dialogue with civil society. We realized one month ago. 1 month ago, we were at a biodiversity COP, 16 COP in Colombia, and there, Brazil, it was the leader, important leader about the inclusion of the Afro descendants in a text, in a document that it seemed to be impossible to be considered from the richest countries that was not able to include the Afro descendants in this discussion, to value their ways of life. And we included Afro descendants that they have the right to have their lifestyles equal to the preserve of biodiversities, in a creation of a permanent group, to bring this discussion about the indigenous, the discussion about indigenous. We had a group, a group that was working for 30 years. And every year they try to create to be a permanent group, a consolidated group. But this year it was fundamental the presence of Brazil, the environment minister represented by Capabiano. He returned from Baku. We from indigenous people minister, we were defended there. We were defending not only the position of this minister, it was a position about Brazil, the role of Brazil to bring to us this responsibility to discuss and to deliver this discussion as a country, as a unity, and we achieved this discussion. So we are how, and I'm here. I'm already here from COP29, who is happening in Baku, Azerbaijan, and there Brazil do the work of Marina Silva, minister. She delivered national contributions. Each place has to deliver these contributions. In Brazil, already presented these contributions before February to cut the emissions in Brazil until 2030. What will happen? What we gonna do to cut this emission? To combat the deforesting, the illegal invasions, to cut the mineral activities, the illegal mineral activities in indigenous people, to fight against fire forest. The last years, it was a terrible year for us that it was burned all those forests. It was as a result of the climate change, but the government was hard working, was industry working with strategies, with aims to reduce all of these effects. So we are in this copy representing our position as Brazil, and this Lula's government returned with this space, with this position to protect the environment, considering all of the ways of life of the people. So we are here in G12. Other presidents are coming to talk, to discussing, and we are here. at the same time that government are talking with social civil people uh, to achieve this dialogue, to have this discussion, and we are working to pay a way for copy 30. Whole world has this expectation for copy 30 in Brazil. Everybody's talking about copy 29 that was new, that was empty, that it was lacking of positions. But no, it was a mistake. But now 75,000 people are there in Baku. Imagine in Belém. Imagining in Amazon forest. How many people will be here in Brazil, and about the people's expectations to be here. So we need to work a lot to make it work, to make this copy, the copy for instance. But not only this, the copy of people working in process and think about legacies, what legacies we are delivering here in Brazil. So here, I was talking about the last year, these global agendas, because the SDG 18 is one of these. We don't have stability if we don't have this position, if we cannot fight against the racism that happens here in Brazil and worldwide. And this is why that this SDG is promoting this debate, this fighting, these structural changes that the world need nowadays to recognize, to value indigenous people, the black people, to value everyone according to your reality, to your lifestyle. So this is why that this SDG, we're talking about the ethnic issue, is not about a theme, but that we really could structure our schools debate. It's not only about to have a law to discuss, but really discuss about people's lives. We have to have the access, that indigenous have the access, black people have access to public services. And this is why we have to approve in PL law to ensure these places. So we really need to assume this position, the structured position. So, or otherwise, we're gonna say that we have law, but it's not guarantee. We cannot ensure this presence, this access. So we won't combat, we won't fight only a law. We don't need only a law. We have to see actions. So this is why we are here today with beautiful people, black women, to promote this dialogue as a government and with the society, the civil society. And I'm proud to be part of this discussion. And with President Lula, we have to be presented with that to defend these ideas. So we are here because it was an achievement. Because we are here discussing, we are here occupying this space. It's not a matter, it's not something bad, it's something that we are important. It's a matter of proud, that is a fruit, the result. We are here because we are resisting, we are fighting as a social movement. And this is why each one of you are important to continue, to keep building, because we are walking to construct all these agendas against climate change, protecting the environment, thinking to value people where anyone has to be forget.
Invite now the Deputy Minister of Environment, João Paulo Capobianco. I'm such an honor for me to talk immediately after our Minister of the Indigenous Peoples. This is a cultural diversity here in Brazil. How fantastic. Very few words to say. How touching and such an honor for me to take part for the third time in the governance of President Lula, with the social participation being part of a structural part of health. The social G20 is unprecedented and disruptive. We very enclosed spaces of the most powerful countries in these enclosed spaces, which have been opened by President Lula's stance and by innovating, by proposing the SDG 18, President Lula's democratic, participative government brings about this kind of reflection to us who are there together with the Minister Marina in relation to the climate change and climate issues, which is also connected to racism and needs to be deeply thought over, because climatic racism represents a deep issue that perpetuates in historical injustice. Why? Because these are the peoples in those communities, low-income people imposed by those who are more powerful. These are the ones who are more impacted by this climate change. With insufficient infrastructure, they are more exposed to pollutants, and they are bound to have more floods in their communities and other natural disasters, and they have been taken aside in the discussion in relation to the protection of their territories and other ones. At the same time, as all of us are facing the consequences of climate change, these communities are those who are there, the forefront, and who are suffering the unfoldings of this. And it is our job to propose, formulate climate policy that consider the inclusion of these voices in all process of decision. We need to go forward so a sustainable development be really inclusive and being accessible by all. This new SDG may promote a deep reflection, not only to Brazil, and everybody in the world feel like changing the situation, which is climatic racism. Now the floor, the Minister of Human Rights and Citizenship, Macaé Evaristo. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to greet my colleagues here at this panel, my comrade, Aniele Franco, our Minister of Racial Equality, Sônia Guajajara, our Minister of the Indigenous Peoples in Brazil, and highlight there's a group of Turban and Cocar, and we fought so hard to have this in the National Congress. So we also want this group in the executive branch. I greet our comrade Esther Dweck in the public service, Enio Veckert, the director of Itaipu Binacional, the special advisor to the presidency of South Africa. Nobody dares to say the name. Our Deputy Minister of the Environment, João Paulo Capobianco, and Fernanda Machiavelli, our Executive Secretary of the Ministry of Agrarian Development and Agriculture, and greet lots of comrades, active unions, the fight, black people living in the SDG Lula in 2003 homologate a law that include history and culture of African descent in the national curriculum at the schools. Many times people don't understand the importance of this legal framework, but this is essential to us that we have never been part. Our fights, our pain and ordeal, our challenges, they have never been included in these places. And it is our task, the governments, democratic and popular fronts, and it's our task, the black leadership, to occupy these places and spaces. Oh, just look, just do like a shoe, like on the crossroads. Spin around here in the energy and say, Opa! Something very out of order. So let's fix it. And let's talk about things people don't want to talk about. Let's talk about racial relations or racism and how we can say that, how racism is structuring and brings about inequalities, not only in Brazil, but all over the world, as it is used to produce hierarchies. And SDG 18 brings to itself this debate within the diplomacy, multilateralism. We need, of course, we need to talk about racial relations, racism, as the latter is structured, inequalities among countries. And the Ministry of Human Rights, when we look at the elderly people, when we look at the facing against violence, the violence against children in our country, people living temporarily in the streets, and people with special needs and disabled people in these spaces of the United Nations, very important spaces. What do we come against? We come against and come around people with special needs who are also being repressed. And we bump into black people or ethnicities which are considered from a historical and social construction less valuable ethnicities, because we are dehumanized many times because of the color of our skin, the way we organize ourselves socially, our culture, our relation with the sacred. We are hierarchized and we are subordinated to people, and this is also a tool to oppress us and to keep us inside the borders of countries, or to go over ourselves, building borders, imaginary borders that separate us. So this week of the 20th of November that we especially dedicated to the Black Awareness Day, Zumbi dos Palmares, we are very much focused on Brazil to reaffirm our identity, black identity, the promotion of social equality. It is important and of utmost importance to remind you that our Afro-descendants, are part of a diaspora, and Africa is global. So, Sonia Guajajara, as the indigenous peoples are all over the world, and because you're native peoples, we are much times disrespected, or here in Brazil, people want us expats within our own land. So the SDG 18 deals with these topics, very difficult ones, because they talk about our humanity and this attempt of dehumanizing us. And this way of dealing with the world, the plant, as Capo Bianco told us, has produced gigantic waves of migrations. And this is so crazy, guys, because capital can go anywhere, but we, with our bodies, we can't. Much times we're forced to be there inside certain place, and if we want to go out, somebody comes and says, "No, you're not from here. This border, you can't cross it." So the SDGs to say this: we have the right to humanity anywhere in the world. There are no borders for life. As well as this planet has not been built on borders. Dignity for all of us. Lots of sex. Let's go with our SDG 18.
For to ultimately to end up our ceremony, Minister of Racial Equality, Miele Franco. So I have a rehearsal to try to say her name. People, good afternoon, you all who are attending here. I try to be brief. I promise. I know that that we have extensive discussion that it proves how huge is this theme, the importance of this theme. Greeting all of you friends that are here gathered together to fight all of this racism that is dealing with us, and greeting all of you who was waiting for this moment, who was helping us to construct all of these issues, these themes. Hugs to all of you for Rachel, for this Minister Gleason. There's other counselors here. All of these civil society, social movements that are together. And I'd like to greet Banco do Brasil presidency. And I would like to start after greetings all of these important people to me, our friends, Jeffrey, Douglas, Thiago. I cannot see you guys very well, but Suele, my dear friend, who is gathered together with me. So this is important to continue to keep our essence from where we are from. So I would like to say something. Why is so important to discuss, to build, to get the evolution, to talk about racial equality. And in this SDG 18, we have some responsibilities that is important to be put in practice. And this is why we are, Makaya, talking in another table. And I was thinking that every time that we talk about something that happened with us, someone who is listening feels the connection. This is why the SDG has this theme about this racial discussion is important, because I remember when I graduated, the first job interview, journalism is my degree. During the job interview, the guy looked at me and said, "No, you don't have the face. You don't have the face to work here. I cannot acquire you." So it was my dream to be a journalist. So this has destroyed my dream. In another moment that I remember, Mari and said to me, I make an interview, and the guy said to me that I had a curly hair, but I was not available for me this job because of my hair. In another moment that she was graduating in high school, thinking about what to do about the life. Other professor, other teacher said to me, that said, you cannot be nothing in the world. And this is why SDG 18 thinks about the construction of a country who respects us, who doesn't kill us. To think this resistance is important to see. For example, hey, when we see all those people who are constructing these thoughts with us, the religious intolerances, all of this kind of violences that is affecting our mothers, our black people, our maroon communities. So think about all of this, all of this to not see in newspaper a black young one killed, or indigenous person killed, as you responsibly has fighting, thinking about places, thinking about where we come from. This is why many people say, we cannot say you're not here. I said because I cannot, we cannot think that that is normal that a black woman was killed he was elected, it was fight with five shoots, and a guy in Avenida Brasil, in Brazil Avenue, be killed. This is why SDG 18 is important to say that it's not only about a say, it's not about a quotation, to use the hair that we want, to laugh, to go wherever we want. And this is why we are discussing this. And Esther was describing things that we are constructing together, and all of people who are here. And this is why when we assigned with Caixa Bank, he says that we have credit for people. She's the first president, the first woman in the bank. She's a woman from Northeast, and she brings all her roots, and she says, I will make how to create profits for women. It's not only November we do this. We do this every all of days because black people, black from favela, black from slum. I have proud to say this, that I come from favela, that I come from slum. The favela is inside me. Sitting and be in these spaces there many times that they do not recognize us as human, and they question, they make doubts if we are able to do so. Be there in those spaces and stay in those spaces. It says that I can and you can do, and black people will keep go further and look to black youngs, black youths, that black youths, we have a lot of numbers of ministers that's possible. While while we are here to be leaders, the biggest leader in Brazil, President leader, when we have courage, endurance, we're gonna say that we not only are ready to be there, but to be here. But so I really expect that this SDGB consolidate. It's not an easy work. It's a challenging work, but think on spaces and think about work on dreams, people dreams. So that it's possible that I can see you, you can see me, and you can make identity and look for all those movements that were working for many years ago. And it's an honor for me. I respect all of those who are here. Is a quotation from a girl who grew up, who raised in Maré Islam, who dreamed about a better world, and as Marielle's sister are proud, Dona Marineide daughters. We not only reinforce, but we keep going, holding hands collectively. It's an honor to be with you guys. Go ahead. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. I said that all of you are hungry. I was brief as possible. I would like to tell all of you to stay, all the participants to stay here. I would like to invite it here Patricia. She wants to deliver a cup, a symbolic cup that all of you already received. Please, Patricia. Please, the picture with the cube, an official picture with the cube, official photograph with the cube. Thank you so much to all of you who participated in this table. It's an honor to be here in this moment. Thank you so much for your participation. In this moment, we have a briefly adjourned 10 minutes. I tell you, there was all of those who are following our program to return because we have the participation of Fabella, Wilton, and so much people, so much incredible people after the break. Thank you so much. See you soon.